Hey everyone, Vintage Vinny here, and welcome to my eBay sales for March 2025. So sales did cool down a little bit in March, but that's okay. I was still consistently listing, and that's why I was able to make the sales that I did. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So there were a couple of items that I left out of my February sales that I'm going to share with you all from my March sales. The first being this Scentsy Blue Whale Wax Warmer. I did originally buy this for myself, and I just ran out of space and wasn't really sure what to do with it, so I decided to go ahead and list it. I did pick this up at the Hancock Antique Mall for $11.50, and it sat for probably a year and a half, and then somebody finally did buy it. I'm very thrilled that somebody paid the $24.99, and I also threw in a couple of wax melts to go with it because I found them for next to nothing at thrift stores. Just a little incentive, and to show my appreciation for the sale. So while the gang and I were in Tennessee, we stopped at a place called Aqua Treasures Estate. I guess they took leftovers from estate sales and they sold the items in a shop. So we met Eric Murphy, aka Urban Ghost Hunter, and his friend Richard, Phantom Canuck, and we did some shopping and filming for y'all. So one of the items that I spotted right away was this Ralph Lauren Herringbone Crystal Lowball Old Fashioned glasses in their original box. The store was running a 50 to 75% off sale on pretty much everything there. And something about these just spoke to me, and I know that Ralph Lauren glasses do have a good resale value. Knowing from working at TJ Maxx, Marshall's Home Goods, we would sell the glasses, and I have some of them, and I think they're really great. They're nice and heavy, and they're not something that's going to get knocked off of a counter or something because it's just got a lot of weight to it. Anyway, so I did sell these for $249.99, and I think I paid $20 for them. Paid for pretty much everything that I bought that day, minus the things that I had already sold prior to these. So these were an item that I ended up picking up for myself, and I don't know, I just resmelt them, and I was like, these are a little too strong, they're just not for me. So I spent about $7 on them, and I decided to go ahead and list them. They did sell for $39.99. So to keep a long story short, these were sitting at the Hancock Antique Mall for quite a long time, and like the average person, I thought $8 for some plates? Like, that seems like a lot. And that's what the average person probably thinks when they see something like that. It's priced like that. But something in me, because they were sitting there for a while, decided one day, let's just go ahead and look them up and see if they happen to be worth anything. And they were. So I went ahead and picked them up and decided to sell them. And they did sell for a full asking price of $34.99. So this Beekman Fig Leaf gift set was brand new. I did pay $5 for this at the Goodwill. It did sell for I think it sold for full asking price of $34.99. This did end up getting returned to me. The person bought the set and they only wanted the chapstick. Unbeknownst to me, somebody had taken the chapstick out. So I should have checked that before I bought it at the store. I probably wouldn't have acquired it if that were the case. But this is relisted in my store if you happen to be interested in it. Only the other three products are brand new, never been used. The chapstick is unfortunately not there. So this is Jewel Copeland Billingsley Rose, England. It's a coffee pot. I bought this from the Hancock Antique Mall as well. This was in a booth that the mall took possession of, And what they used to do is anything that dealers would leave or vendors left after they moved out or whatever the case may be, they would mark it 75% off of what that dealer charged. So I want to say I paid about 750 for this, roughly 750, $7, and I sold it for a best offer of $35. So this was a great find. I was at the Harpers Ferry Indoor Flea Market one day, and I spotted this set. I know that these are Manhattan glass relish inserts for one of those Lazy Susans, the chrome Lazy Susans. And I paid $3.99 for all 6 pieces, and I wound up selling them for $34.99. Long story short, I was at the Salvation Army not long after I had found this set, and since I only paid $1 for it, I went ahead and threw that ruby red one into this person's order. Just as a little incentive. And I wasn't sure how long it was going to take me to find the other pieces. So essentially, $5 turned into $35. Now, I know you hear a lot of people say that Avon's not worth any money, yada, yada, yada. But some of it is, believe it or not. This is 1970s Avon. This is the Come Summer Cologne Mist. I had never ever seen this. Commonly, we see all of the figural Avon bottles, of like the bicentennial with the presidents, peacocks and razors and seahorses and etc. And those don't hold a lot of value at all. But some of their perfumes and colognes that they don't make anymore or, you know, were discontinued many years ago do sell for money. I paid $1.50 for this, and it did sell for a best offer of $40. So this is adorable. This is a relic piggy coin purse. I paid $4 for this at the thrift store in town that helps support the military, and I believe I sold it for full asking price of $24.99. So while at the Queen City Flea Market earlier last year, I did spot this Eagle One Nano Wax from 2004. Running with the theme of items that don't or aren't made anymore, I did have this listed for a while, and I had somebody lowball me and just I don't know. It was a very weird interaction, and this guy just kept lowballing me and lowballing me. Eventually, he stopped, thankfully, and I did either send a best offer or was offered $30 for this, and I gladly accepted, considering I only paid like $3 for it. Another Avon scent that I had never heard of before and decided to go ahead and pick up is called Make Me Wonder. It was about half full, paid $1 for it, and I sold it for $15. Yet another brand of perfume or cologne that I'd never heard of before is called Zents. I bought this at our local Salvation Army, and I did have it listed for 60. I want to say I was offered 42. I went ahead and took it. So I do sell Le Creuset pieces, or Le Creuset, depending on how fancy schmancy you are. Hold up that pinky. And this piece I actually spent $14 on. Again, from the Hancock Antique Mall. It sat for probably 2 years, 3 years maybe. And I was thrilled to be able to get this sold for $50. So while the gang and I were in Tennessee, on our last full day there, we decided to go hit some thrift stores just to see if there may have been anything new put out. And we ended up stopping at a Goodwill store that had a bins attached to it. So we went ahead and we spent probably a good hour, hour and a half digging through all the stuff at the bins. Of course, looking for small items that I could take on the aircraft with me or that I could throw in a small box and have it shipped out. One of them was this REI waist pack that was brand new with the tags, and I knew that this would definitely have some kind of resale value considering brand new, and REI is a really good name brand of outdoor apparel and outdoor stuff. So I wound up spending pennies on the dollar for this. I think it was like $5 for everything that I acquired, and it did sell for full asking price of $19.99. So I'm not really big into picking up amber glass. It was just never my favorite color. Within the last 5 years, I have grown to appreciate it for what it is because I know that amber glass looks great with Danish modern wood, and folks who like boho like it. You can put it out with spring and fall decor. It's a very universal color depending on your style. So I picked these up at a thrift store that helps women who are recovering drug addicts and such. They can be a little pricey sometimes. I walk in there and I'm just like, is this an antique store or a thrift store? But anyway, that's a story for another day. I paid $4 for this set, and it did sell for $20. I love when I can find Vaseline glass because a lot of people in antique malls do charge a lot for it. I guess because some of it is actually pretty valuable. Anyway, this is from the 1970s. This is Wheaton Kemple U-Tech. This is a sawtooth relish dish. I did have this listed for $54.99, and it sat for probably a few months. And I want to say that I sold this for a best offer of $49, even with some minor defects to the saw teeth. So anytime I can find these National Audubon Society singing bird clocks, I do like to pick them up. I need to remember to have some batteries on hand because one of these that I bought actually did not work, so I had to get rid of it. But I paid $6 for the one that did work, and it did sell for a best offer of $27. So one day at the Goodwill, I was just passing through our little area with some pillows in it, and I spotted this shield, and I'm like, well, what the heck is that thing? I've never seen anything quite like that before. And it is was a Harry Potter Golden Snitch plush with the crest pillow, part of the Nobles collection, or Noble collections. And I know Harry Potter has a very decent following. It's very popular. So I decided to look it up considering it was brand new with tags, and I was pleasantly surprised to see the resale value. So again, I paid $6, and it did sell for full asking price of $59.99. So this really cool plush, Bullwinkle from 1961, I've had in my collection for quite a while. I bought them with the intention of keeping them, but you know, you can't keep everything, and not that I'm not a fan of Rocky and Bullwinkle, but I just never, it wasn't a show that I watched when I was growing up. Now, if it came on like a DVD of old cartoons, yeah, of course I would watch it, but it just wasn't a show that I, watched like Tom and Jerry, for example. Anyway, I paid $15.50 for this from the Old Glory Antique Mall in Frederick, and like I said, he's been in my possession for about 5 years. I said I was going to keep him for maybe a year, and then as I was going through things, I decided to go ahead and list him. And he sat for, like I said, probably 3, 4 years before he finally sold. I wound up getting $55 for him, and I am very, very happy with that. So my last trip? My last trip before my last trip to the Fayetteville Antique Mall, I scored a bunch of this Skin Collagenesis products. This is some good quality skincare, you guys. If you ever see it at your thrift stores or in your consignment shops and it's priced reasonably, pick it up because most of this stuff is worth some pretty good money if you can get it at a good price. So I paid $4 for this, and I did sell it for $25. If you happen to be interested in it, there is one still available. So this brightening concealer made by Becca did sell for, I think, $14. Unfortunately, this item also was returned because I did not list the color of this item. So I, of course, accepted the return because that was an error on my part for not specifying what kind of concealer and what shade it was. So I did accept this back, and it is relisted in my store if anybody is interested in it. It is the Gamma 2.5. So this also was purchased at the thrift store I have here locally that supports the military. Long story short, again, I was actually having my phone fixed, and I couldn't do any research at the time, so I went ahead and just Took a couple of risks here or there on some items, and I'm glad that I did because I paid $10 for this, and it did sell for $29.99. So this item has been in my possession for, I'd say, a good couple of months. I bought this at the Whistle Stop when Scott was here, and if you guys don't know, you've heard me talk about it. The Whistle Stop is a store that's like right on the edge of Berkeley Springs, right as you enter in the touristy part of town. This did end up opening as the Hancock Antique Mall was closing. One of the ladies that used to work there now owns this store in Berkeley Springs. And I decided to check it out with Scott the very first, I think it was like either our first or second day antiquing. I think he came into town. We did some thrifting in my area, and then we decided to go venture out into West Virginia. Anyway, so we were looking around, and I spotted this mug, and I said, "Well, that's interesting. I've never seen anything quite like it." And apparently, it's a very hard mug to find because this sold like the day after my video went up with this. And I listed it high because there was nothing to compare it to. So I spent $4 on this mug with a Cocker Spaniel on it, and it did sell for a best offer of $60. So back in 2022, I want to say, the gang and I were in Philly, and we went to Thunderbird Salvage, and I spotted this egg that was hand painted, so I knew that it was Fenton. It did sit for a little while, and I decided to go ahead and list it. It's probably been up for, I'd say, maybe 2, 3 years. And somebody did offer me $18. I don't remember what I paid for it. It was probably less than $1 when you added everything up and, averaged it out. So that was still a good return on investment. So when I was at Precious Treasures, which is a flea market in Winchester, I spotted a booth that was 50% off, and they had some pretty good things. Every time I looked, I found something. So one of the bags that was in there had some like facial creams and like skincare products. And with the discount, I ended up spending pennies on the dollar for pretty much everything. Most of the stuff in there wasn't really worth a whole lot. Even some of the proactive items were not worth that much. But this actually was. This is oil control, broad spectrum sunscreen. It did expire in 2023. However, some people will still use the expired products if they are not terribly old, and if they don't make it anymore, of course. So this ended up selling for full asking price of $19.99. So these were recently picked up, I'd say maybe within the last month. These are Vanderhagen shave soaps with aloe vera and shea butter. I spent about $12 on the 6 of these, and I ended up selling them all for $28. So $12 turned into 28. Not like the best profit there, but hey, it's still something, right? So probably the second to last time I visited the flea market in Edinburgh, Virginia, before it closed, I spotted this Talavera Flying Heart pottery, and I spent $4 on it, and it did sell for full asking price of $39.99. Y'all, if you see Yardley of London Jaguar, pick it up because people do buy it. The last set that I had before this one, it sold really, really well, and I didn't spend hardly anything on it. Now, this one I did end up spending $20 on because I knew that it would generate some good money, and it did. I sold it for a full asking price of $149.99. Anytime I can find these Tiffany styled stained glass lamps for a good deal, I will pick them up. This is a birdhouse with a hummingbird on it. And with spring here, people are decorating for that. So I paid $8 for this. I think actually it was during the winter time, and it did sell for a best offer of $35. The second to last item to sell for the month of March is this Coty Alon perfume. This was a retired scent. This I did actually end up spending up for. It was about $13, and I did sell it for a best offer of $35. And the final item I'd like to share with you all from my sales for March of 2025 is this, forgive me if I mispronounce this, Ispahan by Yves Rocher. Just a little mini splash. I paid $5 for this from our local Salvation Army, and it did sell for a full asking price of $24.99. So, folks, that concludes my eBay sales for the month of March 2025. Let me know down below in the comments section what were your favorite items that I sold. Did you sell something for a great profit on eBay or any other reselling platform? Let me know down below in the comments. I would love to hear. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Bye.